What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Metal Maniacs Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Ingersoll, and I'm here with my co-host.
It's your boy Mod.
All right, so today we are sitting down with the Michigan Death Metal Titans, Nociception. I'm saying that right? Nociception, or is it Nociception?
Nociception.
Nociception.
But
right.
other than
I
that,
should have
you
said
got
that
it.
before we fucking started the show. But
It's all.
right.
It's all cool.
Okay.
At least you didn't call us Nos Energy Drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So it's Nociception.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Cool. I got the fortune of seeing you guys when we played with you guys at Mulligan's Pub. Stayed around to the end because you guys played last. We kind of were just talking about that before the pod, but you guys were badass.
Thanks.
I started to
Thank
get
you.
to know you a little bit because you started just through the show or whatever. And then you started
Yep.
supporting our show. So like I said, I really fucking appreciate that
Yeah,
too,
man.
man. I mean, that means the world. And you're a cool ass dude. Like we talked a lot about music, you know, and stuff.
Mhm.
You actually sent me Carnosus, which those guys are fucking super
Yeah.
awesome. But like I can tell that you guys are the death metal brethren. So I appreciate that
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, I listened in advance too, and I thought, ooh, death metal. Like, this is what I like. So thank you, Jay, for the recommendation on these guys. He's been kind of hounding me to listen to you guys a little bit.
Okay.
And I was gonna say before the pod, like, Jay normally only recommends things that he knows I will like. He knows he's got like his own taste and such, like, so he probably won't say to me like, I like it, I don't think it's for you, but I fuck with this, you know. He normally don't like come at me too much with a lot of that. He's like, this is not for Mod, but this one he's like, you got to listen to these dudes. And when I did, I was like, man, I haven't waiting too long to listen to this shit. Now I'm behind, but it sounded so good. I was like, he knew my taste straight away, and you guys are that. So I have, like I said, I have a lot of praise here for you guys coming up shortly, but I'm gonna let Jay turn it back with whatever questions he had.
So I just want to say thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, no
I know
problem.
you guys
man.
had a little
appreciate
drive out
it.
here.
Yeah. We appreciate the invite when we had band practice in Grand Rapids after this, so we had to come down this way anyway.
Cool. Okay. So right before we start, I just like you guys want to introduce who you are, just so people can kind of put your name and your voice, you know, if they're just listening,
Yeah.
like what you do in the band. So
I'll let Jared kick it off.
Yeah, I'm Jared. Play guitar. Rhythm.
Yeah. I'm Dylan. I do vocals and help write some of the guitar.
cool.
a
Hell yeah.
lot of the
So-
guitar.
So yeah, as we get started here or whatever, the guitar is fucking sweet on
Yes.
it too. So like, I
Yes.
mean, everything about you guys is badass, and I
Mhm.
appreciate that. That's why I said the Death Metal Titans of Michigan, because like. Like, I think people are sleeping on you guys. There's some good fucking bands in Michigan.
100. No, I was gonna say 100%. I think there are some really good bands like Recorruptor and Throne. Like, I think those
Yep.
are like the staples in the local scene right now. But yeah, I just think that we haven't gotten the amount of exposure, and we also haven't put in the work they have yet. I think they really grinded over the past few years to get where they're at.
Fair.
So,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's a good self-realization.
Yeah.
You know, it's about the work and the longevity and getting out there and getting the shows. You know, so I always kind of like to start. We'll start with you, Jared, and then we can just go over to you, Dylan. Just tell us a little bit how you got like playing guitar, how you got into like, and then into the extreme metal, because you're on a fucking extreme metal podcast,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
yeah.
So it takes a voyage to get there, you know. So
Well, I got my first guitar when I was like 8, and I didn't really do anything with it until I was like 16.
okay,
You know, but as soon as I picked it up, I knew I wanted to play heavy stuff. You know, listening to that old 80s Skid Row, Rat.
Okay. I come
I
from
don't
that.
know.
I come from that. I come from Skid Row.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about our inception to metal. So I attributed it more to like Anthrax.
Yeah,
Like, because Skid Row, like, maybe
they were
metal
like on
elements.
the cusp. You know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And probably one of the heaviest bands of that sound.
Right.
You know, so I'm 100% with you there. Skid Row I was listening to
Yeah.
before I knew what
Yeah, I was
Anthrax
listening to it as a kid a lot. You know.
Hell
but
yeah.
As soon as I picked up the strings, I was playing like Metallica songs and
Yeah, absolutely.
trying to anyway.
Cool.
you guys are a little bit younger, right?
29.
Okay,
Yeah.
For sure. Same.
30 in like 3 months.
okay,
Okay.
cool. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
so that tracks.
That's interesting for me, though, because you say Skid Row, and I'm like, oh, we're like the same age.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, we're not the same age. When
We
I
were
was,
the old guys.
yeah, I
Oh,
was
come
there
on.
for it. You rediscovered it.
Yeah.
But that's cool, though. I'm glad to see that it's still resonating with
Absolutely.
people.
Yeah.
Mhm. Dylan, what about you?
So, I mean, I got into heavy music. So, I used to live in North Carolina, and when I was about 14 years old, my neighbor my friend's neighbor was really big into like death metal, like old school death metal, like Cannibal Corpse, Death, Morbid Angel, and like even stuff like Pantera. See, I had already been kind of into like the hard rock stuff with like, I mean, if you want to call Mudvayne hard rock or new metal, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I was kind of already into Mudvayne. And then I was just flipping through their CD collection one time. We were over there for whatever reason. And I was like, what the hell is this? I'm looking at like Tomb of the Mutilated album cover. And I'm like, this is insane. Put it on. And it kind of scared me a little bit at first, but it was almost like a good scare. Like, oh, this is interesting. Like,
Curiosity
this is creepy.
scare.
Yeah. Like, this sounds like menacing. This is creepy. And then, so I think over the year, and I actually got into deathcore shortly after that. Just kind of, being in high school, my high school buddy, check out Whitechapel, Suicide Silence.
Okay.
But I always kind of kept Cannibal Corpse and Morbid Angel in the back of my mind. And then I slowly started getting more into them the older I got. I think I had to mature a little bit with my musical taste before I got into that stuff. Because I didn't quite comprehend what was going on. All I wanted to hear at the time were breakdowns.
Yeah. And I think there's
So-
something to be said for the fact that a band like Cannibal Corpse or Morbid Angel has spawned derivatives in their like. So you have to kind of go through deathcore, which is a perfectly fine genre. But I think if you go to where their roots are, the Cannibal Corpse and the Morbid Angel, you'll find a little bit maybe different musicianship and a little bit more style of the death metal vein versus the deathcore. It's death metal in ways, but it's missing some of that tenacity and or musicianship.
Well, I may have said this on the pod before, but the thing about it is, you guys being a little bit younger, but you can understand, like, so that's what we had was death metal, right? That's the shit that we had. We didn't have deathcore. Like, so when that shit came along, we were kind of like, what the fuck is this? This ain't death metal. And now you got these younger kids, like, you can tell they've only been influenced by deathcore.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I know one of the praises I told you, and I'll say about the album is, like, I'm glad you write like vocal patterns and shit, like, and you don't sing over every riff, because there's a lot of bands that do that, and people probably will turn this podcast off right now because they're like, you're talking about this shit again. But I always have to bring this up because that shit drives me nuts, because it's like the constant vocal attack. You're like, you got to know when to let
it
stuff
breathe.
But what I appreciate about you guys is, like, you guys are a fucking death metal band. Would you say that?
Yeah. I mean, we have different influences like outside of death metal, but I call us death metal, like, on all of our social media. We don't have deathcore breakdown, so we can't really call ourselves deathcore. And it just aligns with death metal, although we do have some core influences.
Yeah.
Our first album definitely had more core stuff, but we also had a whole different set of members then.
Okay.
Right.
So we kind of like have developed our sound more like as we go on, getting new members and different members. So we got a better drummer suitable for our sound, like a death metal sound. Sorry, Shay. Shay's one of our best friends.
Yeah.
He was our original drummer, but he was more of a metalcore rock drummer.
Okay.
And then so we got like an actual death metal drummer after he left the band, and he just kind of quit on his own terms mutually. It was no hard feelings. And then we got rid of our old guitar player, which was heavily influenced by deathcore. And so we just got a new drummer, and then it was me, Jared, Blake, which Blake, the bass player, he's the
A
best
monster,
guitar.
yeah.
He's a monster, and he's the best guitar player in the band. He
Okay.
could play it straight up tech death,
So, on that note, real quick, because I was talking to Jason, I just really want to speak to the bassist and his musicianship, because I'm a bassist. And I'm just going to jump in right now with that,
that's
since
fine.
we're on that subject. Educated in music theory. Is it fair to say that he's taken classes or has?
Yes, I know his mom.
Band
I know
or
his
something
mom
like
was
that.
like a
Reads
piano
music.
teacher growing up, so he kind of knew how to read some music, and he also used to teach guitar.
Okay.
I don't know if he used to give guitar lessons.
So-
I don't know if he still does.
For those listening at home, that's the level of obvious musicianship that you're in for when you listen to this band. I mean, it's evident in the guitar playing and the bass playing, how well they complement each other, and how the bassist is not lock and step.
Oh no! If you listen to the Tyrant album, all
Yeah.
of the lead work is on the bass guitar.
Yeah. So
we have no solos. It's
I
all
listened to the amazing. I listened to as much as I could. I did listen to as much of that as I could, and especially the Tyrant EP. Is that we're calling it an
That's
EP?
an album, right?
Album?
Yeah, it's an
The
album.
Tyrant
Okay.
album,
Yeah.
the EP I sent you guys
Yeah.
is called Odium.
Okay, that's I listened to some. Yeah, definitely that. Your bassist though, like, he's got that beyond creation, obscura,
Yep.
bass work going on. And so I just wanted to ask that question out of the gate too. Like, is there some musical theory being kicked around in the band? Some of that music speak
He has a killer ear.
Okay.
I don't even have to show him. I'll write a song or a guitar riff, and he will just hear it and know.
I
what
love
to play.
that. God, that sort of musicianship.
It blows my mind, doesn't he? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
obviously there's some stuff I do have to show him. Like if I write a riff that's 230 beats per minute, and I'm playing a bunch of trem stuff, he's like, okay, what exactly are you playing there? But
Sure.
most riffs, he could just listen to it and know exactly where to go.
I love
on
that
the
sort of
fretboard.
musicianship. That sort of thing makes me just like really comfortable and confident in a band. When you're like somebody, oh, you definitely know what you're doing. Great. Like I don't have to show you too much. You just play right along with me. Like less energy on my part. Thank you. And that makes you just write thicker songs. I think when somebody knows like, well, I can add a little twist here and there to that melody. Like that, and that's evident in what I'm listening to on the Tyrant album.
So how does that work then? So you play guitar, obviously too. I know you said you write some stuff. So did you play guitar in the band, or were you just always the vocalist, or what?
It started off with me and Jared on guitar, Shay on drums. We went through
like 3 or 4 bass players,
5 bass
like
players before we found Blake. Could never find a vocalist because we started the band in Big Rapids, Michigan. Blake actually lives here in Muskegon.
Okay.
So we started the band in Big Rapids. Couldn't find any death metal vocalists there because it's mostly like a college/country-ish town,
Yep, been there.
And so I always messed around with vocals. I like to scream along to my favorite songs, and I just kind of got pushed into it.
Oh, okay.
I pushed myself into it, I should say.
Yeah.
I was kind of sick and tired of trying to find vocalists, and I'm like, a lot of these guys we've tried out suck. And I don't think they were metal vocalists. They were just trying to be a metal vocalist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a personality comes into play. Like, how many people are you going to burn through before you're just like, I could just do this myself. Fuck this hassle.
Yeah, I mean, if it's easier to find another guitar player, which sometimes that's tough too. I mean, both of you guys are killer guitar players. I mean, because I noticed you play leads, and your other guitar player plays leads too. I noticed he did a lot of the tapping and different type of work.
Yeah,
too,
he does more like the technical lead work.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the phrasing, type leads, but
yeah, he was really good. I remember
he is.
I mean, you guys are all good, obviously, but yeah. So you started off as guitar, and then it just
I started off, and then we played one show just as an instrumental band with me on guitar. And God, we sounded terrible. It was in his mom's.
Oh man,
it was in his mom's backyard. And,
we built the stage, and
I think like 100 people showed up.
Yeah, it was actually decent.
Too many people for how badly we sucked at the time. And
one of those shows.
Was
fun.
We pretty much played everything that's on our first album before we
actually recorded it.
Before we actually recorded it,
Sure.
Just instrumentals and on crappy gear. I had like an old crappy Randall half stack. Nothing against Randall, but I had like the cheap line of Randall, because I do like Randall. But I had like a cheap Randall half stack. He had some janky.
Oh man,
he had a 2x12 combo amp, but it wasn't like a nice one. It was.
Well, I ripped the head out of a combo amp, and then I had ripped the head out of another combo, and wired it all together. It was like
made your own combo, huh?
Yeah, it was terrible.
He's like, the speakers in this combo sound better than this. But
it was
this
like
amp sounds, but like
a PV Viper cab with the head ripped out of it, and then there was like an old Behringer head.
Yeah,
that I had just sitting on top.
Yeah, I've had a good bass combo like that where the whole thing was fine, but the former owner of it, he's like, I'm really keen on that amp head.
Right.
If you ever part ways with this thing whatsoever, or can I buy it back later in life? I'm like, absolutely. Yeah, and he just ripped the thing. I mean, it's part of a combo, so this thing is basically just open skull.
Yep, it sure was.
Sitting there, and I was like, it's all yours, man. Like, I don't have need of it anymore. Here you go. But yeah, I've seen Frankenstein rigs like that. That's fun.
And especially when you're first beginning, you got to like make whatever work, right?
Man.
We've all been there.
Yeah, we've definitely worked on our gear game over the years.
Yeah,
it's a good feeling.
Going back into that, I don't even know what happened. I think the
PA was messed up or something was going on with it.
No, just going back to how our band kind of like progressed over time. So we had this guy come over to hang out with us. He played in a Grand Rapids band called Discontent, and which is kind of like a hardcore beatdown deathcore-ish band. They don't exist anymore, I don't think, anyway. But anyway, he was interested in playing with us because he wanted to play more death metal-ish stuff. And so we had him come in, and I'm like, sweet, I'm gonna jump on vocals now
Yes.
because we have another guitar player. So we actually kind of found a guitar player before I jumped on vocals.
Okay.
So I found my replacement before I actually made that move. We played one show without him because he joined the band, but was still in that other band. So we had to play our first show without him because he had a show with his other band at a different location on the same weekend, whatever. Anyway, so we play it without him, and then we get Blake in the band.
That's your guitar player now.
That's Blake
Bassist.
is our bass player.
Oh, your bass player. Okay.
Yep. So we played one show with a different bass player,
Okay.
but ever since our second show, Blake has always been in the band.
Nice.
And we played one show with a different bass player, like actual show. I'm not going to count the backyard show.
Right.
And then, then we kind of we were a 5-piece band up until the last album. We dropped one member, went to 4-piece. We played one show as a 4-piece, and then we picked up Kyle, our new guitar player, and he rips.
Yeah,
he's
he's
very
good, man. He seems like a cool dude.
Yeah,
too.
he's a
Like, I
super
talked to him
likable
a little
dude.
bit.
very very nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
that
he,
always helps.
Yep, and he you won't really hear much of his stuff on our upcoming releases. He does have a few riffs in there, but just to give people like an idea of what his guitar style is like, he's definitely more in the realm of the Black Dahlia Murder. Has some Lamb of God influence. He's definitely more of a groove and melodic player.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. And Jared, I feel like overall Jared's definitely more of like a in the vein of like Behemoth
Black, yeah.
Yes,
and
nice.
stuff like that. And I do more like decapitated style, just kind of in your face death metal riffage.
I love it. I love all three of those things. And I love how all three of those things can marry very nicely. You can go from your boy's melodic groove right into, the decapitated brutal death metal.
Yep.
And then you can go right into that deep ambient black
Yes.
metal.
Yep.
And there's a lot of melody in that and your other boys, and then with the death metal, that's just fun chugging. Like I don't need melody every step of the way. I really like over here especially, like I really love melody and melodic death metal. But when you give me a straight chugging riff, like I'm not gonna say no to it.
Yeah.
I mean, just make it
Get that
more
out of
interesting. Like make it like I've heard a million chugging riffs over my life. Like do it in a way that's captivating still. You gotta understand we're deep in this game now, however long death metal's been around.
Yeah.
So your chuggy riffs have to have a little bit more on them.
You gotta add some sauce to it,
A little sound time signature change or what have you. But yeah, like
And like you said, contrast them with other styles. Don't
Yes.
just do straight up chug. Don't get me wrong. I do have a few bands I listen to that are just straight up chug riffs.
Yeah.
monsters.
But
Love
whatever. Organectomy.
So,
shout out.
how does the writing process work for you guys then? Can you explain a little bit about that? Because obviously, with you playing guitar, bringing riffs, you obviously have riffs, and it's, I mean, at the end of the day, it's you guys' band, right? You the OGs pretty much. And actually, before you start that though, can I ask a different question? So is this you guys' like only first band? Because it kind of sounds like
He's been in a million bands.
Yeah, I've been in a bunch of different ones, but it's the most original band, I guess.
okay.
We've had it for what, 6 or 7 years.
Mhm.
Us together as a
Yep.
duo.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a pretty long history together. with
Okay.
it.
I was just wondering that because like your first actual release was like 2019, right? So we're
Yep.
looking at like
Yeah.
4 years. That was like when your first single came out. At least that's what it is on Amazon, right?
Yeah, I think
Damn,
we
it's been
started
that
playing.
long. Huh?
We started playing shows.
It's been a while.
We started playing shows in 2017.
Okay.
I think we formed, or no, 2018. I think maybe.
Okay.
I think we formed in 2016 or 2017. Jared moved across the state for like a few years, and then when he moved back, we kind of reconnected. We did have a band before this that was more of a metalcore band,
Yeah.
but that kind of fell apart. When he moved away, I got really good at playing death metal on guitar.
Okay.
He actually taught me how to play guitar.
Oh, come on. And Shay taught me how to play guitar. It's like
Yeah.
a chain reaction there.
Yeah. Okay.
Sweet.
Yeah, so we kind of all we kind of all helped teach each other, stuff on guitar.
That's awesome though,
Yeah.
because it doesn't sound like you were in this band, you were in this band, he was in this band, and then we all just kind of come
no.
together. It was more like you guys are kind of been all grown and
Yeah, like
working
it started
together.
off, we were all friends, like, and
Yeah.
then, members go their own way. And,
Yeah.
But yeah, we've always stuck together with it and
Yeah, me and Jared have known each other since we were in like second grade.
Hell
So,
yeah.
played
yeah.
T-ball together, no big
Yeah.
deal.
Oh, that's badass.
Yeah.
That's kind of like Nick and I. We've been doing
Sweet.
stuff together
Yeah.
since.
Yeah.
And as you guys are telling the rotating member lineup story, I'm like, that's Jason and I. Like, we struggled so much to keep like a 5-piece in our world. To like we had members kind of coming and going, so it is what it is. But we get that.
But yeah, with that being said, like, so how does that writing process look with 3 guys bringing riffs to the table?
It changes every album, I think. It's this last album, it was like we all kind of sat at home with our DAWs and wrote riffs and then kind of collaborated on some songs. There was one song that I wrote completely by myself, and then there was one song that Jared and I split, and then there were 2 songs that Jared pretty much wrote by himself, and then there was a song that Blake wrote by himself. So we collaborated on some,
pick and choose,
and then just wrote. So we actually, a lot of the songs you hear, like I'd say half of them, only one person wrote.
Okay, so they just bring that song and you're like, this jam it?
Well, we kind of tweak it. We'll be like, all right, so instead of playing this here, we should do this, or this riff needs to repeat more, or this riff, we need to take this out. And a big writer, I got to give props where props is due, a big writer in our band, our 6th member, Michael Stelma from Vestigial, he's our producer.
Okay.
We'll hit the studio with like the skeleton, like the structure of a song. We'll say, hey, we have these 5 riffs. This is kind of how we have them laid out. And then he kind of just helps us like turn the song into what it ends up becoming.
That's awesome because you got that outside. Being a producer myself, you got that outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of like the in producer and iron sharpens iron because if Larry writes something or whatever, I'll be like, okay, that's cool, but let's do this, that, and the other thing. And it just kind of always makes it a little bit better having that outside.
Yeah.
I'm going to have those guys on the show soon too. I've already talked to Mike because I go way back with Mike Miller, the drummer.
Yes.
Cool.
So like he's been a cool ass dude and a good friend of mine for a long time. So they'll be on the show soon, but that's cool. Yeah, so you just bring like a whole song and you're like, hey, I like all those riffs. Like no one's else like, can we change this riff a little bit to this, that? And, so it's still a collaborative effort. Just somebody might have a whole bunch of shit to bring.
Yep.
Well, that's cool.
And we'll have like crazy improv sessions at practice too. And we'll record it, like, video it. And
we'll pick stuff out.
Pick it out.
A lot of our practices are like, okay, let's practice our set. And then after that, let's just
Riff
jam
out.
and see if we can come up with some riffs. We won't be able to write a song because we all have too much ADD or ADHD going on to actually focus and bring our efforts together to write a song. But
unless you bring your laptop with you, and then we'll
sometimes I'll bring my laptop.
pick some of
with
those
me.
riffs out and lay them down real quick. And
Nice.
Very cool.
But Jared will play a riff, and I'll get out my phone and I'll record it, and I'll be like, all right, we're gonna use that in a song. Or like I'll hear a riff that one of them's playing, and I'll be like, all right, that's got to be like a main riff in one of our songs. Like it's just catchy or whatever. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you find that drummer? Because he's a badass, man. I'm like, just to be able to find him, like that's always the hardest.
Tried
thing.
out for that Discontent band.
Yeah, he
years
tried out
back.
for Discontent, and so our old guitar player found him.
Okay.
And he was actually our old drummer Shay was quitting, and he was actually just a fill-in at the time.
Yeah.
And he didn't really want to commit to us at first because
he didn't really know the direction we were going with.
He wanted to be a main writing. He wanted to be able to play whatever he wanted on drums. So when we first brought him in the band, we're like, okay, look, you're going to have to play Shay's parts because we have shows lined up.
And we hadn't started writing new songs yet either.
Right, and the material's already there.
Right.
So he just filled in for a while, and then we told him, like, hey, look, we're going to start writing some new stuff, and you could do whatever you want on there within reason, as long as it sounds good.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, I'm in.
He's like, I can blast beat because there's a lot of fucking blasts going on there.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
We have to try to get him to tame that sometimes because sometimes I want the riff to open up. And he just loves to his hands always got to be moving. He loves to keep his hands moving. So, but he's been doing a really good job at becoming more dynamic. But yeah, he's a blast machine.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of how Adam is the drummer for Iron Sharpens Iron and Infinite Design.
That
That's
dude's
how he
good.
was too.
Yeah.
Like it was Wally's one of those things where we had to calm him down. Like, hey, dude, you got to like not count something one time and just fucking like feel it for a second, or like
give us some halftime.
You don't have to throw a drum fill on there. That's not necessary. Like just let other things open up and breathe. But that's all maturation. You know what I mean? That's all part of the process or whatever. So
I think blast beats are hard to work in because you're almost trampling all of the music with a blast beat, so you have to like introduce the riff a little bit before you go into that blast beat. It's just a tricky thing to work around. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I do appreciate it at time, because if you know what it is that you're hearing and then that blast beat comes in, so you already know what it is, then it just gives it so much more amplified power, right? So you just have to use it tastefully. But if you're doing blast beats all day, I really can't listen to you. I'm gonna say, sorry, man, I don't know what's happening. But if you take that same energy on those blasts and you just move it up top to the ride, or all these cymbal fills, like then you become Gene Hoglan all of a sudden. Now you're in a whole different realm. You know, you take it off of the snare, but you put that same energy elsewhere. Yeah, you know, I mean, it gives you more dynamics, and you're still the same drummer. You're just not like hooked on that snare. You're just moving that same tenacity over to other drums to hit, and it's a beautiful thing. I love it when they got that go energy.
Eric's gonna laugh when he sees this.
Well,
because you know, like he know, like he'll admit it, like he just gets carried away with blast beats, but he does a great job in the studio at taking advice and like, hey dude, look, you're blasting over this whole part. How about you cut it back halftime? Like maybe we'll introduce a trem riff with a blast beat that's just kind of like in your face, and then all of a sudden break it up with some like halftime double bass, and then it kind of opens it up. Like almost vice reverse of what he was saying, or introduce a riff and then bring in the blast, but don't blast over the entire time.
That's the thing with blast beats. Like, to me, it's always, because we kind of started Infinite, like, hey, how fast and crazy could we ever be? Like, how much blasting can we do? And then like you grow, but then you realize, like you're saying, dynamics are important, even in death metal, because it's like if you're blasting the whole time, the impact of that blast gets minimized. It gets diminished. So put that blast in there when it's impactful. Make it its own thing, especially even with breakdowns. Like there's a lot of breakdowns or grooves or whatever. You got to put those in there when they're going to be impactful, because if you're just doing breakdowns the whole time, that's all it is breakdowns the whole time. Like there are bands that do it well, like Knock Loose. I mean, that's literally 35 minutes of breakdowns, but a lot of that loses its amplification to me when you're just breakdown, because it's like, I need something else in there. I need a thrash, I need a 1-2, I need a 2-4, I need I need some grind. But that's my own personal taste. I just feel like some of that gets minimalized if it's just constant blast all the time. Like,
no, I see both sides. It's like I don't like constant breakdowns. No. And I don't like nothing but blast beats either.
Yeah.
I like the middle ground. And even if it's a style that's more breakdown, like more breakdown centric, like revolves around breakdowns, that's cool, but at least mix it up with like some other stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's got to be a mix. We're you know, if you're a grind band, that's one thing, but like in death metal, I don't really want to hear 4.5 minutes of blast. Like if you're a grind band, that's like a lot of 2.5 minute songs, 1.5 minutes of, okay, that's what you're doing. But like anything other than that, for me personally, and that's all about growth and just learning what works. And you know, and like especially if you're drummer, I mean, like I said, it just sounds like Adam, like our drummer, like he was the same way. He just wants to fucking the whole time. You know, you grow up on that. And
part of it is when you're that good, you kind of want to let people know.
No, that's exactly it. Too.
You're that fucking good.
That is, you know. Sorry, Eric, but I'm gonna call you out. But no, I think Eric is like, he's very proud of his skill set, and he's never been able to show it off in front of people. He's been in bands for on and off for like 15 years or something like that. And he did get to open up for Chimera once with one of his old bands.
Very nice. That's a cool show.
I wish I could. Sorry, Eric. I wish I could remember the names of your old bands. But he was in a band with, you know, that band He Who Dwells.
Yeah, just became familiar with them actually.
Yep,
yeah.
He was in a band with their vocalist, and that's the band that opened up for Chimera back in the day.
Okay.
Back in like 2011 or something.
Right.
Which you know.
So I noticed on you guys' music, there's backing tracks going on. There's like some
ambience in the background.
Yeah. So is that? I didn't really hear that live. So is that because you guys don't play with like a click or like in-ears or nothing, right? So is that just more of an effect for studio or?
Yeah. No, I was already prepared for this question because I mean now that we're incorporating more of that, we're gonna have to start using backing tracks live. We were always like an old school band where we're like, okay, no click, no backing tracks, nothing. And then our producer's like, you know, the song would sound really cool if we did this like ambience, added this to it or added that to it, or put this synth in there. And so our drummer just got some in-ears, and like as long as he's got in-ears and can like hear the click, because if you don't play to a click, the backing track's just not gonna line up.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fucked.
It's gonna sound rude, you know.
Yeah, it's gonna be fucked.
So
it's gonna come in on a half a riff, and
Yeah,
then go
dude.
into another riff, and then that part's still gonna
Yeah.
be going. You're like, what the fuck is going on?
Hey,
So-
I've done that shit live though. Like,
In ears?
no,
Clicks or-
like after the studio, we changed up a song. Like, added a section in there, and I totally missed that new section. And
Oh.
everybody else was on time. And
Yeah.
I went
playing
ahead
a
of-
different
Yes.
section.
Yeah. That shit was embarrassing.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
No, we're gonna, for the listeners, we're gonna add that in there. If you ever come see us live, I think probably by our next show.
I think it's a huge realization for a band to know that if you want to bring that to your studio game, you're going to have to grow leaps and bounds to bring that to your stage.
Oh, absolutely.
You're like to sit here and think, oh, we just used to raw dog it and play off of each other. That's fun. And now you're like under the microscope and the pressure of
yeah,
being on
exactly.
time with a metronome. And somebody's got to be really good and synced up with that, like your drummer. And it sounds like he's up to the task, like, so if you got it like that, then that's good. But as a listener and as a fan of metal, I'm going to tell you straight up, like, them tracks got to be there live. I don't care what the opinions are. People bring in backing tracks. Like, I don't understand the argument. Like, you're not going to bring a full orchestra, right? Is Shadow of Intent packing like 12 to 20 orchestra members
Hey, man,
in the
they
van?
could be.
No. So bring the backing tracks, have the laptop ready, somebody sync it up, and I do want to hear them. I want to hear the whole thing,
Yeah.
not missing a component. And I
Well,
think that's the challenge that you guys are right up. You're willing to take on right now. It sounds
No,
like.
yeah, that's the problem. Like we've only played 2 or 3 shows since we've introduced like I don't want to say backing tracks, but since we've introduced stuff like that, instruments that we don't actually physically play.
Right.
So we kind of came to that realization, like we're not gonna sound like
It's going to
how
be
we
dry
do.
a little bit.
It's gonna sound drier, which like if you've never heard of us before, we still might sound pretty cool. But
Right.
if you know us and you're expecting to hear something, you're gonna be let down.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have. So basically, we're like, all right, we have to use backing tracks now,
And
it's
now
just-
we have to because this is going on the internet.
Yep.
This conversation will be out there.
Yep.
We're making ourselves accountable.
Oh yeah.
It's like Cannibal Corpse with their drummer. What's his name again? I'm wearing
Pete?
their shirt.
Or Paul.
Paul. Yeah, Paul. He didn't start using a click until like I don't know their 7th album or some shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was late in the game. I know.
Yeah.
I almost when Eric started working with him, I thought
Yeah.
Rutan.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
I think that's because he was talking about
It was
that in an interview where he got. But I felt like he got so much better doing that.
Either torture or evisceration plague because it was on one of their documentaries.
Yeah.
One of their studio documentaries.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, we just kind of realized like, hey, we're gonna have to do this. I think it was just laziness at first. Like, it's like we got to put in work to get that done and actually make it sound right.
It's not. I'm not going to sit here and let you call yourself lazy when you've put in a really awesome effort so far. But I do respect the fact that it brings on a level of anxiety and an uncertainty. Like, oh my God, like I'm good as it is. Do I really have to do this? So allow yourself a little grace. Like it is a monumental task to like take on. Fuck, we're good as it is, but I want to be better.
Right.
And it's that want to be better. That's where you find out what you're made of. Do you want to be better or not? Like, I think you want to be better. So I say you get to the click tracks
Yeah.
and you slow your own music down a little bit until you get really good at playing with the click, and then you get it to where it needs to be. And then you're going to find yourselves on stage going, fuck, we are so powerful. We are so unstoppable right now with the full force coming at you. That little bit of ambience in the back of the PA pushing everything out, like just filling out any little
It's gonna
nook and cranny.
fill it up. It's gonna
be
make it sound full.
And like back to your first point, like with that stuff, our first album, we didn't have anything like that. So
Right.
how we played it is exactly how you would hear it.
Sure. Yeah, and that's good because then you can fall back on that live. Like, hey, this one we're just gonna rip the in-ears out
Right.
and just throw it down hard on stage. We don't
Yeah.
need the in-ears for this
Then,
one, and that's fine too.
The Tyrant album came around, and that's when we added some stuff like that to a few tracks, and
Okay.
Yeah, only a
So-
couple though. It's
Right, it
not
was like
on,
2.
it's not
2 or
and
3 tracks.
Yeah.
And
So
I even noticed with the new EP though, it's subtle.
It's very
It's
subtle.
there, but like since I've seen you guys play live, I just noticed that
Yeah.
it wasn't there. Like,
Man, I
for
didn't
me,
even run any effects that night either.
Okay.
Like at all.
But yeah, well, he was having issues with like
Yeah.
I think it was just
A chaining
it was
issue
1
somewhere,
in-
I
it
don't
was like
know.
almost 1 a.m, and he's
Yeah.
trying to set up his rig, and like his pedals weren't working. So last minute, like you're nervous. He's just like, screw it.
Yep.
yeah,
just
'cause
gonna
you're
run
trying
my
to
rig
get
dry.
I get it. I
We're-
get it.
we're trying to
You
get up there, play,
Yeah,
and-
I get it. It's a pain in the ass, but you know, to your point when you're like, I don't understand the whole like why people I like shame it or whatever, but
Mhm.
I don't think it's the point where there's like some stuff going on in the PA. I think it's the point where like there are some bands that like only rely on backing
Yeah.
tracks
Oh,
and they're not even
100%.
playing their fucking
Yeah,
music
right.
basically, and the backing track is doing it
Yeah,
all.
we've
So
seen some
that's
shit
where
like that.
people get
Yeah, and that's-
weird about it. If there's a fucking little orchestration and the band's playing, that's a whole
Yeah.
different story.
And
So you know,
when
we're-
it's the whole lead or the whole rhythm.
Yeah. Well,
It's
we're
like-
here to
Right.
make that distinction for the listeners. Like a band that goes on that's bringing a 20-piece orchestra into the PA, fine, thumbs up that all day. That's a green light for me. Your guitar lead is also playing through the
Yeah.
PA. That's a
Or,
thumbs
like,
down, and I'm
10
canceling your
layers
shit.
of 10 layers of vocals or something. You're just kind of like, oh, what the fuck is
Yeah,
that?
where's
Like,
the
which-
gang
Which
vocal
one is
coming
the
from?
guy? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wait, he can put his mic down and the vocals are still going? And
Oh,
I've
shit.
seen that live, you know, a few times. So
Yeah. So real quick, the amount I got to listen to Tyrant. So are you guys ready? I'm gonna gas you up a little bit right here.
Yep.
So you guys got some old school influences that I kind of detect from, you know, a little bit older death metal. But then I thought you guys did a really good job of like standing with your peers and contemporaries in modern metal, which is about one of the highest compliments I can pay to a metal band right now, because you're either sounding like you're dated or you're kind of pushing forward. And right now you're like in the mix, you know, like you sound like a bit of a Lorna Shore. Okay. You sound like a bit of a Shadow of Intent.
Okay.
All right. So these are the things that I'm picking up, and that goes to a lot of that orchestral type. So, and it's just a faint amount of it. You guys weren't
Right,
leaning on it hard like they do.
Right,
You know, it was
yeah,
just a little
yeah.
bit of that piped in, and I was cool with it. I did pick up on some BT Bam influence, and then the Black Dahlia Murder was mentioned, which I agree with that as well. So those are the things that I'm hearing. I don't know how accurate those are, or if I'm just hearing shit that I like, you know, coming out of your
Right.
music. So
I'll say with the
we
Tyrant,
didn't, we
that
didn't
was
take influence from any of those bands, but
Sure.
I see where you're coming from 100%.
Sure. But that does go to show that you guys, you know, you're listening to your own thing, but
Right.
you're bringing forward like what I would consider really modern, like, you know, like what's happening right
Right.
now. I think
Yeah.
you're kind of your fingers on the pulse, so to speak.
Do you recall what song BT Bam was like? Because I'm just trying to think. You said BT, because we do love BT Bam.
me too.
But when you said that, I'm like, dang, like what? Like, do you know what tracks you kind of caught that?
So if it
vibe
wasn't,
from,
what was Summon? Was Summon a track off of Tyrant?
No, that's
No.
on the newest one, right?
Okay.
yes, yeah.
EP.
So I listened to Summon, and that was a good song that I really liked. And then the first 10 minutes straight up of Tyrant rolling in. So I guess however many songs I got to hear
I
in
don't
10
remember how that
minutes,
starts.
like the first 2 or 3 of that were giving me.
Archaic Sepsis, and what's the third one?
was it Limb Splitter or
Autophagy, I think.
yeah.
I don't know.
So it would have to be somewhere in there. I did listen to Perfidious, am I saying it correctly?
Perfidious.
Perfidious, thank you. That one did not give me the BT Bam vibes necessarily, so it wasn't that one.
That one kind of came more from like we weren't really trying to rip them off, but we definitely pulled a lot of influence from like Cattle with that
Oh,
song.
okay.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
with like
One
the
of my favorites. right
minor
there.
chords and the blast beats and all that stuff and the breakdowns. So
False Life is heavily influenced by
by
Cattle as well, yeah.
Okay. Not a bad influence to have whatsoever.
no, and then like
Fuck.
Behemoth. You know, we mentioned Behemoth
Yep.
earlier.
Those
like
guys,
like
too.
those guys a lot.
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Yeah, so why an EP? Like, because you guys got have an album out, right? Like, you
Yeah.
have you got 2 albums out, right? Because there's an album before Tyrant, right?
Yep.
And then because I seen a couple singles, and I seen that, so I was just kind of wondering why we went with just an EP this time.
there's 2 reasons. Financial reasons, because we didn't do it all ourselves. We paid for everything to get done. As far as like, you know, studio work. So we paid Michael to record most of it, and then we actually recorded drums at a studio down by Detroit. Fractured Audio. It's a guy named Tim Trevino. He's recorded bands like Red Lord. He's done some work with Recorruptor, and he's recorded some other bands, but he's a really good producer as well. We recorded drums there because Michael doesn't work a whole lot with natural drums anymore. He used to. If you heard Recorruptor's last album, The Funeral Corridor, that was, you know, Michael recorded all those drums raw, and our last album, Limb Splitter, those were all raw drums. I mean, the new EP is, you know, real drums as well. But we had to go to somebody else for that. And so just financial reasons, like it was just costing more money. And I figured, let's just take 5 of the best current songs we've written and put them on a
okay.
piece of, put it, you know, rather than, because we really wanted to put some new music out. We got a new member, and we're always a couple years ahead of what our music is. So right now, like those songs that I sent you, we wrote those songs 3 years ago, probably. It's just
know that feeling.
So we wanted to put them out, but we had a lot of songs that didn't really make the cut. So instead of trying to conjure up some new material to throw on a full album, we just took our 5 best songs and made it an EP.
Yeah, and refine them from over the years, revisit them.
Yeah. No, that's totally understandable. That's kind of what I thought in my mind of the reason why you'd put out an EP after you have multiple albums. But especially this day and age, it's almost kind of like, man, hit them with some EPs or hit them with some shorter shit, because it's really hard. I mean, for me, I get the opportunity to listen to full albums, but like being able to have that isn't always the case either. So like if you give guys 5 songs, or people 5 songs, usually they can get through 5 songs. You know what I mean? So, one of my favorites was "Fountain of Shame." I really liked that song. That song was
appreciate
that one. Yeah, that one really stuck out to me.
Yeah,
I was like, man, because I listened to the EP 2 or 3 times, and then I kind of went back and listened to some of the other stuff that you guys had online or whatever. Which Tyrant, that was really good too. But the new EP does kick ass. So thanks for sending that to me.
Yeah,
Let me listen to it early too.
I think the production has stepped up quite a bit with the new. There's a lot more. It sounds more full. Like. Not even talking about the backing tracks, but just I think Michael did a good job at kind of expanding on his skills and filling out our sound a little bit to where it sounds modern, but we still sound like a death metal band. It doesn't sound overproduced, if that makes any sense.
No, it sounds, because it still has a little bit of rawness to it.
Yeah.
Now, your producer's name is Michael?
Michael Stellama.
Okay, so he took the drum tracks. You guys went there, recorded vocals and guitar there. Is that what happened?
Yeah. So we recorded vocals, guitar, bass with Michael Stellama, and then he just took the drum tracks that we recorded at the other studio and did all the mixing and stuff.
Okay.
On it.
So did you send your drummer down there with like a scratch track with a click track already? Is that what happened? And he just played. So did you guys go down there with him, or you didn't?
Dylan went down with
him.
Okay.
Yeah. I did, just because like I wanted to go down there with him to make sure, like, if there were any last minute decisions that need to be made, I wanted to be there to maybe assist, or if he's playing something that I'm like, oh man, that doesn't sound good, dude. Like like not, just like, hey, maybe switch up this beat. And also, it's a long drive. You got to have a partner with you when you're
by yourself,
3
loading
hours.
drums in and shit, and studio. Yeah, you need some moral support there for sure.
So, Anyway, go ahead. I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine.
I was gonna say that sounds similar to me, like where I want to have my hand involved, even if it's not my lane.
Right. Yeah.
It's not even my lane, but I just kind of, hey man, I just want to be there for you, but I'm really there for the whole thing. I need to know that it's going off the way that it should.
See, I love doing that. Like when Blake is tracking his bass.
Okay.
Because I played bass in a lot of different bands.
Sure.
Over the years, and so I have a natural ear for that too.
Okay.
Like if I hear something and he's struggling to come up with a part, or I like to throw my 2 cents in there. I guess,
and that's very helpful. Trust. I mean, if you're an objective musician, you're going to receive that and not shoot that down from your producer or your bandmate. Say, like, it's just not clicking here for you. I can see that. We don't have to struggle. How about this idea? And hopefully that just irons it out immediately.
Now, this might be a little bit of hot button, but you guys, it's real hard because you come up with stuff, right? And you don't ever want to marry your shit, right? But I know it's hard because you're like, that's my idea. And like, you're like, so how does that work as far as like shooting somebody else's idea down, or like just being able to work? Because it sounds like you guys are pretty open with like, hey, if you don't like it, we don't roll forward with it because there's 5 guys in this band, right?
Yeah.
So like,
well, if we don't.
And then with you playing guitar too, so you're going to be even a little more critical of the guitar parts, even because it's not like just, hey, like he just sings, you know what I mean? Like you got your hand in a lot more, which is very helpful to have a singer that knows what the hell's going on too, musically.
It's huge.
We try not to like criticize. Like if there's a riff that we necessarily don't like, instead of just eliminating it, we'll try to work on how could we improve it to where all of us like how it sounds. Like how. Because Dylan will write a riff, and I might alter it a little bit to how I would play it with my style, because we write similarly, but like we just have different playing styles.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, in that sense, I wouldn't get angry if someone wanted to change my riff up or...
Right.
Yeah, it's more so like, I guess somebody will bring a song idea and we'll be like, okay, well, this riff doesn't really fit.
Right, yeah.
Rather than, no, this riff sucks,
Yeah.
Because, like, we don't want to totally shoot them down. But
Yeah.
And
we'll be
we
like,
backburn a lot of those riffs too.
but we'll be like, this
That's
riff
good.
is cool, but it doesn't really fit this song. So let's take it out and let's see what we can do with that spot in that song. Like, let's come up with a new riff. Or, hey, this riff that you got here actually would sound better if we put it here. You
Right.
know, we kind of do a lot of stuff like that in the DAW where we'll just kind of like mix around. Like, okay, all these riffs are cool, but we have to like compose a song to make it sound like a song,
Yeah.
not just like a
exactly.
riff soup. You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
Exactly.
So,
No, I love that because that's one thing I always denounce on the show is riff soup. I mean, there's bands
Yeah.
that do it good, See You Next Tuesday, bands like that
Yeah.
just fucking put a bunch of parts together and they can do that. But
mhm.
it's almost a waste of riffs, though, if you ask
Yeah.
me. Though,
yeah, tack another one,
Yes.
like it's something cool. Let's bring it back.
Right.
That's,
Yeah.
That's my biggest complaint with a lot of tech death.
yeah,
I love tech death, but a lot of like, I feel like a lot of it that I've heard in the recent years anyway, like it just sounds like, okay, let's just see how crazy we could play. And, like you were saying, you guys struggled a little bit with that earlier on in, your,
And-
career with Infinite Design. Like,
yeah.
you guys were just trying to be as crazy as possible. Then you kind of had to dial it back.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think some bands do that, and they'll be amazing. It's like, you guys are amazing. You write amazing riffs. But if you just structured your songs a little bit better, you guys would pop even more.
yeah.
You know?
Well, that's one
So-
thing I praised that Carnosis that you showed me, but I felt like they even get into that a little bit
They
where it's a
do,
little soupy and it's
yeah.
like it's bad as fuck. Like the vocals are awesome. Every note they play is amazing, but it's like they could have probably wrote 3 records out of the one.
Right.
You know what I mean? And just let me feast on those good riffs a
Yeah.
few times.
Well, dude,
because-
there were a couple riffs where I'm like, come on, you're not gonna play that 2 more measures or
Yeah.
bring it back. Like that
Right,
riff
right.
was sick, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's just there and gone.
Yeah.
It's like,
Play
damn
3
it.
more beats behind that riff,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
And music's all subjective, but I like how you guys take the egos out of it. Because I mean,
Oh,
with
yeah.
this music shit, you got to take the egos out.
You have to.
We're in our 40s, so we know that
How dare
even
you.
10 years beyond what you
Yeah.
guys do. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh, for
but
sure.
even when we were about your age, that's when we started realizing, like, man, let's just be cool to everybody. Like, we ain't here to fucking have a pissing contest. Like, we know we can shred, but that's not what it's all about. Like, can we write a
Oh,
good song?
Right, exactly.
That's important.
I've also been humbled along the way, very much so, just by meeting somebody who is way better than me. Their skill ceiling
I
is
feel that.
so
Yeah.
high. And you're just like, okay, just there goes my desire to be the best ever. Just right out the fucking window. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to be the best at what I do ever. So just come with the attitude and appreciation of just playing the music. And also, if you guys haven't figured this out yet, not a very lucrative career. No, not very lucrative,
Yeah.
especially in something as niche as death metal. So please have your fun and do your
I'll say
best.
it
I
is
mean,
fun.
take it as seriously as you want. Jason and I did in our artwork, but outside of that, we started to realize, like, hey, man, like, we just hanging out here on these Saturday mornings doing this thing, and we'll catch a show when we can and have our fun, and we definitely did, and we put a lot of time into the work, but have fun while you're out there doing it, because it can be pretty fucking
Yeah.
stressful if you ask me. Like, I just didn't want to tour the world, man. I don't know that I
Yeah,
want to be
no,
riding around
it's-
everywhere in the world. I mean, I do want people to listen to my music, though.
Absolutely.
So,
Mhm.
and your music too, I'm sure, right? I mean,
Yeah, so we're actually the youngest guys in the band.
okay,
And everyone else
Yeah.
in the band is either married or has kids or both.
sure.
So,
Does that present a problem to you guys logistically?
no, we actually find like a great balance, but it's kind
Good.
of awesome because it's like we have set days that we meet up and we have a set amount of time and energy that we put into the band, and outside of that, we focus on our personal lives. Like
That's-
I have a whole career
That's awesome.
that like I went to school and like I have like an actual
9 to 5, if you will.
not a 9 to 5 like, but I like went to school for something that I wanted to do and I got the job doing what I wanted to do.
Nice.
So like that was kind of my main goal, and then the band thing is just my passion. It's
Love
just
it.
what I love to do.
Exactly.
So
So I'm with you there too.
yep.
Love it. So this is a good segue into, so like what I know you were mentioning to me a little bit when we were up there about picking and choosing some shows that you guys want to play and stuff, and then what's your shows like when this
Yeah.
album comes out? What are your goals? I guess that's my question.
I'm actually trying to work on setting stuff up right now. So if anybody wants to play shows, hit me up. Like seriously, don't be afraid to message us on our band page or even my personal page. You don't have to be super professional about it as long as you're polite. I
Yeah.
don't care. Hit me up if you want to play a show. So we're actually trying to get stuff set up right now. And as far as shows go, like when I was saying we're trying to be picky, we've been offered a lot of shows in Grand Rapids, but they're so close together. We don't want to hit the same area every other week. You know, then I feel like the crowd dwindles as it goes on. Like you don't really get the same hype. Now you play somewhere once every couple months, and I feel like people are more excited to come back and see you.
Sure.
You know.
So what is the goal with the EP then? You said you just shot a music video, right?
Yes. Yeah. So the goal is, I mean, honestly, I think right now our goal is to try to increase our online presence.
Okay.
It's really because like you said, you know, like we're kind of a slept on band or underrated. I don't really see it that way, but I think that we haven't been doing the greatest job at promoting ourselves, and I think that's why a lot of people have slept on us, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't put a lot of time and effort into the marketing aspect of things. So I think right now we're just spending more time, because when our first album that we recorded, we played like
shows almost every week, it seemed like.
almost every week for a year, or I should say probably 2 shows a month for a year.
Yeah.
And we just played all over Michigan, and 20 people would show up, whatever, mostly the band members from the other bands. And it's like we did that thing, and we realized like we actually have to gain a following and a fan base. It's not like back in the day where people would just love to go out to shows just to go out to shows. You actually have, and like there was a lot of word of mouth talk about bands. Now it's like if you don't have a cool appeal online, they don't give a shit about you.
Yeah, I've noticed that. You need to have personality, and so that you need just like a personality, and it might not be within the 5 guys in the band to have that really colorful, presentful personality, right? And then the other thing I was going to speak to is it's a real bitch trying to sell your own art. Like, I really would rather somebody else not in my band who loves my band do that for me, because it kind of, like, look, I know some people are really proud of their stuff and they'll just go out there and like, hey, buy it, love it. But for me, I'm like, I did it because I love it and I had to do it. I hope you like it. Somebody else please hawk this for me, because I get a little bit like, God damn it, I'm trying to force people to like my music. No, I'm not. I hope you do, but it's a tough sell for me.
It's like a little bit of that.
It's a little bit of a dichotomy.
I don't want to call it imposter syndrome, but it's like, you don't want to feel like you're forcing people to listen to your stuff.
Exactly.
And you don't want to feel like people should listen to your stuff just because you want them to. It's like you want them to listen to it because they like it. Or if they like it, to support you.
It's more about just, on the marketing tip, I don't want to get it too nerdy, but it's more about just knowing your audience.
Yeah.
Like knowing who's going to listen to it and knowing how to being consistent with content too, and then getting that in front of them. Because we live in this content world now. We don't live in this put out an album, we sell it, and this is how it works. It's like, no, we got to be consistently putting out something every day, a picture, a fucking message or whatever, like just being consistent to try to keep
involved,
up.
Yeah.
I've been trying to, I just created a TikTok for the band not too long ago, trying to kind of put us on that, just because that's like the new hip thing. And there we try to dive into a little bit more of like the personality side of the band, whereas Facebook is more so like, here's our song, here's the shows we're playing. Facebook, it's so damn hard to reach people on Facebook anymore.
Unless you pay.
You got to do it on Instagram or TikTok.
Yeah.
So and reels are big now, so you got to take a lot of short videos. So back to the EP thing, that was part of the whole plan with the EP, is getting a lot of content created for that. I got the guy Jacob Myers came and shot our music video. He's in a band called Shallow Truce, I think. I'll have to confirm that, but so don't quote me on that. But they're a bigger band. They're like a metalcore band. I think they have a decent following on Spotify. But he kind of gave us some advice, and he kind of he took like some picture. We did some photo shoots while we were there. And, so we'll have content from the photo shoot slash video shoot. And then we plan on, I'm going to record like a guitar playthrough for one of our songs on it. So just kind of like using this EP as like a vessel for content. Yeah. We didn't take advantage of that with the last album. The last album kind of got slept on because here's our album.
Yeah. And then we just kind of dropped it, and there's a lot of tracks on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. it was a shame because I thought there was some pretty cool tracks on there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like when you think the work stops when the album comes out, but
No,
it
it just
is
begins.
only begun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So honestly, you could still go back and promote the shit out of that. But like,
Oh, yeah.
at least you guys got some shit online. So if something happens with, as far as getting new followers and fans, they can go back and you guys got some kind of catalog. So that
Right,
helps
right.
too. Instead of just being like, oh, this is the only 5 songs I get from these guys. So that could
Yeah.
also
No
work into
music
your
video.
advantage too.
Yeah, and we did try to do a little bit of content with the last album. We did, drum playthrough, guitar playthrough, and a music video.
Yep.
But we didn't market those well either.
Yeah.
It was just like, here's our music video.
Yeah.
We didn't try to, promote it. However, like whether it's through ads or other media sources. I know there's you can pay like a rep, like a PR guy to do stuff. I know some bands do that. We're not at the point where we want to commit to something like that quite yet. We kind of want to do it more DIY with the whole marketing thing, and we want people to fall in love with us before it just gets shoved in their faces.
Yeah, get a little following, get a little, like I said, just know who's going to listen to your stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like knowing your target audience is like huge.
And that's been
because
the
it's not
trickiest
for
part.
everybody.
Yeah, it's
Everybody thinks their shit's for everybody. This podcast is not for everybody.
like, no.
You know what I mean? And whoever's
No.
on this podcast, their music isn't for everybody.
Right.
You got to know who you're talking to.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And that's like one of the first steps in marketing is doing that. But I mean, shit, as long as you're having fun. Sometimes I'm with Nick, kind of like, yeah, I hate shoving it down people's throats, and on the other hand, I'm like, I fucking work my ass off on
Right,
it, so
yeah.
fucking
Jay-
like it,
yeah.
motherfucker.
Fuck. So here's the deal. Jay though is a real hustler. He's a real look. You guys want to talk work ethic? Go have a sidebar conversation with Jason. Jason's been doing stuff in this industry, musically, like for so long. Like I would have fallen by the wayside. I would have given up long ago if I didn't look over my shoulder and see Jay just, nope. We're doing music, bro, forever, for life, in
Right,
all forms, down to this podcast and everything. There's been a lot of times where I looked over at Jason and said, dude won't quit. Dude goes home 9 to 5 or 10 hours or whatever, and he'll come home and he'll do beats, riffs, podcast editing, video editing. So, like on a working tip, yeah, like Jay, you have every right to go out there and just blast every day with the EDP beats and the podcast. I love it because you do. They're like, hey, why not? Like, why withhold it? Like, yeah, I did this thing. Nobody cares. Like, no, man, sell it, man, because you do more work than I've ever done with respect to the music thing. And if you got a guy like that in your band who's a hustler, feed off of the hustler. Like,
I basically have done everything, and that's kind of been our relationship with Jared and I. It's like I kind of do a lot of I set everything up for the past few years anyway. I've set everything up as far as like studio time, shows, just managing all of our social media accounts, including email and all that stuff. And Jared's just along for the ride, and Jared loves this band just as much as I do. He just isn't.
I don't have like a
Yeah,
online presence really
yeah,
at all.
yeah.
You know what I'm
He's
saying?
not. He doesn't mess with technology at
Right.
all.
that's fair.
Not
Yeah,
like
I mean,
internet, I guess.
Yeah, you got to know where you
Socials.
fit in too.
Yeah.
And I mean, having you as a representative for the band, you're a great representative, man.
Yeah.
Me and you kind of connected right away, and I seen that. Like we talked, and obviously, like I said, being death metal brethren always helps too, because it's like we like a lot of the same shit,
Similar
and,
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that definitely helps. But yeah, just having a cool guy out there to speak for you too. You don't want to know some pretentious fucking dickhead or. you know
Oh,
what I
for
mean?
sure.
Like, you know,
I've
like-
ran into enough of them.
Oh, yeah.
In the local
Yeah.
scene, it's like, guys that toot their horn so much, or they act like their band is so much better than yours. We actually ran into a band a few years ago.
I was just thinking of
and
that,
we
man.
we're not going to say any names,
Right,
but
I get
we ran
that.
into a band a few years ago.
You guys
We-
do this,
we-
you could be almost as good as us.
If you guys do this, you'll be almost as good as us. I remember that comment, and that comment stuck
That's
to me.
fucked.
yeah, no, for real, dude. It pisses us
Like
off.
you're you're a fucking douchebag.
Yeah,
and that dude,
forever.
And guess what? That dude no longer plays music.
Oh
so
yeah, it's always that
just-
guy.
it's
that
always
has the
that guy.
advice for you.
Yeah. It just, but
Yeah.
we don't want to be those. That my point
Right.
is like we don't want to be those people. We are just super down to earth dudes. We will hang out with anyone.
Yeah.
Play whether it's play guitar, whatever your thing is. Like we're just down to chill.
here's the
Yeah.
20
Like,
things
I
I
love
think
that.
will make you guys a better band. There goes that.
Yeah. That was Mott's whole list. How to make you guys a better band.
I was wondering what you said. I didn't hear what you said. I was like, what?
Yeah,
I
the
didn't
whole
even hear you.
list out the window.
Yeah, that was his
No,
whole
I-
list for you.
I just think we just try to be chill dudes, and like we've almost every band I've met in the local scene, You know, I've just tried to get along with and be friends with, and not even on a fake level, but just like I just try to give everyone a chance. And if they reciprocate that back, awesome. We'll become buddies. We can help each other's bands out. That's what happened with me or with us in Vestigial. That's what happened. And like Recorruptor, I'm good buddies with those guys. They've, you know, Clint, their vocalist, featured on one of our songs.
Nice.
I did a little black metal project with Seth from Recorruptor and Michael from Vestigial. It's called Bone Helmet. If you guys want to check it out sometime.
Okay, I will.
It's kind of a parody black metal, so we're not necessarily like being super duper serious, but the riffs are serious. You know what I mean? We're just like you know, just kind of like imitating black metal almost. But it was like a fun project. It's like the Tenacious D of black metal, essentially. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
That's
I actually seen Seth
we were just having
promoting
fun with
that.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason and I were just talking black metal and humor in our metal music, so it's ironic that you would say that.
All it was like, you know, us three were friends. We wanted to do some music stuff together, but we had stuff going on in our lives, so we couldn't take it super seriously. So we're like, hey man, let's just do this black metal thing and kind of like make some humor out of it and make a joke out of it. But we like black metal. We're not shitting on black metal. We just want black metal's always so serious and evil. You know, we want to kind of twist it up a little bit.
That's fun. That's cool.
Make it fun.
And that's the one thing about, you know, meeting people or, you know, even whatever, as far as playing shows and being in bands and, you know, meeting new band, it's like everybody has their own path. So don't say if you do this, you could be almost as good as me. Like, because everybody has their own fucking lane that they got to take to get there. 100%. So even if you try to do exactly what they did, whoever the fuck that was that said that dumb shit, like, it's still not going to work out like that. So you got to be self-aware enough to know that, for one, shut the fuck up, and for two, like, everybody's got their own way of doing things, right? And everybody's success, whatever you want that to be, recognition, getting more fans, more streams, whatever it is, that's all going to come in a different way for everybody.
Yeah. And my advice is just, you know, if you're in a local band, don't be that guy. Try to encourage other bands, or maybe give them advice, but don't come off as like, oh, we're better than you.
Yeah, even the giving of advice is a very touchy subject. I would even rein that back into like asking them a question. Have you thought about this?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That way it doesn't even sound like you're telling them you need to do this, or even stating it as a matter of fact. You're just kind of like, man, you guys are fucking sick. I wonder what you'd sound like if you did this. And there's the big, you know, like,
Flip it
that's
on to
okay.
you.
No,
yeah.
100. It's all about how you approach it,
Yeah.
and also maybe becoming friends with them first. Like, you know, I really love the dudes in this band, but they need some help. So I'm gonna throw them some advice, like, hey, you know, you guys are awesome, and you guys are all good musicians, but you guys would be, you know, like you guys would really step up your game if you did something like this or whatever.
Yeah, it could be
I don't know.
And
more
then it's
gear
like,
or more regular practices.
And it's
whatever.
like
gear, yeah.
Are they capable of doing that?
Yeah.
Who knows? You
Right,
know what I
right,
mean?
right.
Like, it's like, you know, most bands they're capable, but like that's the other question. There's just a lot of questions around that, and it's a little different if Travis Ryan's like, "Hey, Dylan, dude," you'd be like, "Okay, fuck yeah," you know. But another dude that's playing the same show as you, like, we're on the fucking same show, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you may have 100 Spotify followers a month or 1,000, but it's like we're still kind of all on the same level at this point. You know what I mean? You're not fucking touring the world if you want to do that anyway, and you're not making. You know, you're still working your job, so give me advice, okay?
And you know, it's funny, like the guys that I've met from bigger metal bands, they're like super down to earth, and I think they're a little bit more humble and respectful. You know, I've really only come across like sheer arrogance from, you know, like local acts, and obviously there's a lot of bigger acts out there that it can be very arrogant as well. But like I've met Alex from Cannibal Corpse, coolest dude ever. I met the new guitar player of Nociception, like coolest dude ever. Just, you know, like every guy that I've ever met that's been in like a bigger band, super respectful, and I think that goes a long way, and it makes people respect you even more if you're nice to them, even if they're not on the same level as you or they're just a fan. You know, I think just treating everyone with respect is a good message to put across.
I think understanding the amount of work that it takes to even put out an album, write a riff or whatever, like that goes a long way too, right? Like just being able to like know that it's a lot of fucking work to get even one song down and have it sound good, like in our genre, you know what I mean? Or play that solo clean live or on on in the studio. You know what I mean? So it's like that's a little bit humbling,
sweep,
you know.
bro?
Right.
Yeah, dude. Do you even sweep, bro? Can you sweep pick?
So did you have something else, Mod?
No, I think you guys are on the right track with like maybe releasing EPs or even singles for that, because the consumer base for metal, or in general, just across the board, people just want less. They want more of it, but they want shorter attention spans.
Right.
So if you guys are putting out 20 minutes of music, you're good. 4 songs, don't worry, don't sweat it, because really, like, you already have a catalog, so you can just kind of build on your catalog.
Right.
And to think that you're going to be like 10 albums deep in the game, like, why do we keep making albums? Well, don't. Fucking don't. Just put out an EP. Put out a song that you are so fucking blown away by yourself musically that you're like, fans don't have to wait for this shit. Like, we're doing a single, and that's it.
Yep.
And then move forward.
Ride on that single for a minute.
I think that's our plan for the next like year or two. Is like maybe just
If you don't mind being in and out of a studio like that,
yeah.
if it's doable.
Oh, we love the studio time.
Yeah, we actually like going to the studio, and
you're making good use of that
and
time.
we could only commit, like we could do a whole song in a day, like a full band. If we just release singles that way, we thought about doing that for a short amount of time, but I love albums.
Same.
And as a fan, that's how I like to listen to music. I can name all my favorite bands. I can name all of their albums. More so than I can name their songs.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
I listen to albums.
Yeah. And there's something to be said for the integrity of the art too. And I, like you, want to make an album. I got to make 8 to 10 songs on an album.
Yeah.
But in this day and age, knowing your fan base, I think you just kind of want to keep feeding them that content that we were talking about. And whether you go back and you pool 10 songs together as an album, like, I know you've already heard these, but here it is repackaged. That's up to you. Or you just say, like, okay, we've done a bunch of singles, guys. We're going to fade into oblivion for about 6 months. You're not going to really be seeing us. We're going to write and record, and we'll be back with a full length for you.
Right.
And then, shoestring them along some content just to remind them that you exist. But I think there's a lot of ways. There's a lot to be said for releasing more as you go, instead of waiting and waiting and waiting for people to forget you, and then remind them that you exist. Like, oh, by the way, we have an album. Remember us?
Yep.
Like, keep giving them little bits to nibble on.
I threw the idea out there for Larry because we're writing a new album right now, and I was like, why don't we record 8-9 songs and then release 2? You know what I mean? Record it all at once, kind of like batch it up. And then here's some content, and then 6-8 months later, here's some more. So you got a bunch of shit to put out all together. You know what I mean? To keep that, because it's like trying to keep that shit in someone's face. Because like you guys said, you did it before. You put the album out, and then it's like, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
We just worked our ass off for 10 songs, and now all of a sudden it's kind of like,
yeah.
And then for you guys, you're not excited about it because you're like, we already did that.
Yeah.
You don't realize that there's a bunch of motherfuckers that never heard it, like Nick and myself, who listen to Tyrant, you know what I mean? Or like, oh, that's fucking sweet, It's like
we recorded that right before the whole COVID thing happened.
Okay.
So when the shutdown happened, we were finishing up recording, and we recorded the drums in a separate studio on the last album as well. But the tracks were so bad that Michael was like, screw it, I'm gonna buy the gear. All you guys got to do is pay for the drum microphones, and I will just record your drums. And I was like, okay, deal. So
Sold American.
And, so I just bought the mics because that's really all I needed was like the mics to record. Because he's good. He's a really good producer. I think he was just trying to get away from. He's been trying to do more. Seemingly, anyway, he's been trying to do more like modern metal, and he does a lot of like drum programming and stuff like that. But we're still old school death metal. We still like the real, authentic drum kit. So he ended up re-recording the drums for us. So that drug on that process even longer. And then finally, when we got it all done, like you said, we were fucking over it.
Yeah, you're over it.
We were done. We're just
heard
like
it so many fucking times. You're like, I don't even want to play these songs no more. So
nope, exactly. When it came time to play shows after COVID, I'm like, we gotta play those songs.
Yeah, because it's been so much time, since then.
Even though we've never played them live, I still felt like we've been playing them for so long.
I know,
right?
Well, we did at practice though.
Yeah.
Never showcased it to anybody.
Sure.
Well, I know you guys got a band practice coming up. I don't want to keep you guys too terribly much longer, but so what's next for you guys? I know you kind of said, you got some stuff in the works, but like
I mean, other than the EP, we don't really have much going on. Like I said, we're just trying to book shows right now.
Okay.
And
shows?
we're trying to book shows and create content to promote us and the EP. And, we're trying to put ourselves out there more. Because like you said, it's just, we just need to get out there more and like expose ourselves. Because I think we did get like the initial new band hype. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that, where there's this new local band and they sound cool, and then you kind of get like a little bit of a hype at first, and then you kind of, if you don't keep riding that train, you die off. So what happened was we kind of took a break. We lost a member. COVID happened, and then we just kind of died off a little bit in the local scene. So now we're just trying to build it back up in the local scene and try to take it even farther. Not as like touring wise, but we want to get well known on like a maybe a regional level one day, or even a national level, like via internet. Like we don't necessarily have to go on nationwide tours or anything, but it would be cool for people in California or Texas or Florida to know who we are.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. That's just like that's like our grand future goals. And then really, a cool goal for this band would be to just play with bands that we
look up to.
Yeah. Like, being able to open for a band like
fucking Cattle.
Yeah.
Cattle.
I want to,
for instance,
Yeah.
would be that would be awesome.
So, and I think my opinion of you guys is, and having listened to the music, is you belong on a bill like that. Like, you need to maybe, here I go with my fucking advice. You ready for it, Dylan? You ready
I'm
for
ready.
it? Ready? 20 ways to make your band better? Here they come. Definitely be sliding into the inbox of the venues you want to play at, the ones that bring the nationals, right?
Yeah.
And then just be like, hey, here's a link. I love your venue. I go there to see your shows all the time. I got a band if you got a consideration for a local.
Yep.
Like those are the things that I think you just keep trying to do, and you keep leaning on your social media content, and then the next thing you know, you are in fact opening for Cattle.
Yep.
And whether or not you're meeting them is a different question.
And I think that's actually great advice, because that's what I haven't been doing. I've been relying on like old contacts and stuff. I need to just start like actually going up to venues that we want to play at.
Like literally in the building, walk it. Who runs this joint?
Yeah.
Who do I talk to about booking here?
Like maybe physically walk in there. And then after that, follow up with an email. Hey, I spoke to you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is a link to my band's social and our songs or whatever.
Dylan,
music video.
real quick, Jay.
Yeah, go
Dylan,
ahead.
I just want to give you the confidence to do that. Just having talked to you right now, like you have that, like you have that business like presentation.
I appreciate
One,
it.
and also like just standing on the merits of your music alone.
Yeah.
There's no reason to sit here and say like, oh, imposter syndrome. I don't deserve to open for this band. Fuck that hard.
Right.
Like, dude, know that somebody's out here listening to you guys thinking, fuck, I wish they would open for Cattle. And he's sitting right here. He's ready to fucking buy the ticket, dude.
Yeah.
So have that confidence leaving the room today that ain't nothing, dude. I'm going to send every venue I've ever loved a message today, even if I have to, in a link that says, if you're looking for a local, hit us. If you got a national coming through, you want a local to open, we're that band.
Yep.
Here's the calendar.
Just building those relationships with those people, and then being able to, I think with you guys coming up with this EP and then like music video and all, that's going to look good for you guys too, because you're going to have a lot of momentum going into 2024. And if your goal is just to play shows, then your name's going to be out there. It's just always that fucking catch-22, like you said, of like getting a little bit of hype and then something happens, you lose a fucking member or somebody's doing this or doing that, and then everything comes to a halt. It's just constantly putting that content out, constantly staying consistent. That's always kind of the challenge of being in a band. So if you guys can string that together, not that I'm giving you advice because I have no room to fucking talk about anything.
No,
so I'm just saying, like,
I appreciate
that's for anybody. That's for this podcast. That's for Iron Sharpens Iron. That's for, you know what I mean. So.
And I honestly appreciate the advice coming from you guys, and I know it comes from like a good place. You're not trying to just be like, you guys aren't as good as us. You're actually
no, you guys are way fucking better than me. So
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I mean, I've only seen you play once, and like I've definitely listened to more of the Infinite Design stuff than the Iron Sharpens Iron stuff, only because like although I do love a lot of hardcore riffing. And I mean, one of my favorite bands, probably my favorite band of all time, is the Dillinger Escape Plan. They're not really a hardcore band, but they have a lot of hardcore influence.
Yep.
And it just the death metal is definitely more of my style. So I definitely started checking more of that stuff out, and I went through your I think what you guys did an EP and then like 3 albums or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
3 albums, 4 albums, 4 albums in an EP now.
4 albums. Well, you could count
Fragments, Phases.
Yeah, that's 4 albums.
Embrace the Void, and then Calculating
EP is
Insanity.
Calculating Insanity.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the iron sharpens thing, that's kind of a weird thing. That's a whole different conversation. That's kind of Larry's thing, and he wrote some riffs, and then I kind of joined the band and was like, let's write these riffs. And now, like, I wanted to get back on stage, so that's kind of why I wanted to play. I ended up playing that show. I wasn't even really a part of the thing, and now I'm back to write. Adam's always like one of my best friends in this entire world, the drummer for that band.
Yep.
So like him and he played on all the Infinite stuff. So it's like we have this musical connection, and now we're writing stuff, and it's like Larry had a few songs, but I literally just went in there and changed almost every part of every one of them. So like you're gonna hear a lot more. Like for me, it's kind of like it's still gonna be like pretty heavy, pretty death metal stuff, like less hardcore, but there'll be some elements because it's Larry's thing at the end of the day. But it works for me because he can do all that promotion, booking, and all that. I don't have to do anything but do my podcast, talk to cool guys like you, and hopefully go play some shows with cool dudes like you. So it kind of works for me because I don't have to be the guy like in Infinite Design where I'm pushing for everything and pushing to make sure everybody shows up to practice. Like I don't have to do none of that.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I can
Larry's
just go
that guy.
play shows and
that's
have
Larry.
fun and meet cool people, which helps me for the podcast because then I got to meet you guys.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
and then have you
exactly.
on my fucking show. So like, kind of works out for everybody.
It's funny that you say that because when I was talking to Larry, he mentioned that you would want us on your podcast, and I actually every time we play with bands, I do a deep dive into like what this band's all about and all their members and stuff. And I saw something about your podcast, and I actually started watching your guys' podcast before I even saw you guys, before I saw Iron Sharpens Iron play, before we played with you guys.
Sweet.
And then I think you guys had like 3 episodes out at the time, or maybe 4.
Yeah, I mean, we
something like that.
Yeah.
But no, it's cool. I like it. I'm a podcast nerd. I like watching podcasts.
Sweet.
So we appreciate that, man.
I thought it was super cool that you guys invited us on here.
Yeah.
Jared and I, we're like both of us like podcasts, and we're like, dude, it'd be cool to do that one day. And I think it's great content, and I think it's good for bands because people want to get to know the members of the bands, the people behind the music.
Yep.
Here's your bonus content coming at you.
And in this day and age, it's like I want to do things that are benefit everybody, right? Like if you listen to our other episodes, like I want you to learn something about metal. Maybe you never learned something before. If I have a band on or we have a band on, it's like I want you guys to be able to get those clips and say, I got something I can show you. Like, yeah, go subscribe and listen to Metal Maniacs for the whole fucking thing. But it also helps your band out and it helps our podcast out. So it's like it's a fucking mutually beneficial thing. Like that's
win-win.
That's how you got to approach things. You know what I mean? I want to give you guys as much value as I can, and then like if I get something out of it, cool. If not, hey, I got to meet you guys and hang out. So if I see you at a show, like, hey, Jared, what's up, bro? Like, hey, what's up, Dylan? You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
it's
we're definitely going to promote your podcast.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's
Thank
it
you.
kind of, goes hand in hand. Like
Yeah.
you're helping promote us, we're helping promote you guys, and we try to do that with everything we do, whether it's like bands we're playing shows with or anybody we work with in the music scene. Like we try to, especially if it's something we like, even if it's something that we're not super big into, but we still try to support everyone as much as we can. Because I feel like the scene just needs that. There's too much. There tends to be a lot of ego, and there tends to be a lot of gatekeeping in the scene.
Yeah.
And we just want everyone to play. I mean, and have fun. And we want people to come to shows. And
It's better that way, but you have more cohesion in a scene when you include more other artistic people.
Yeah.
And instead of just being a band who's doing their own thing, popping up here and again,
Right.
like, hey, we got a show over there. If you're like supporting all of these other people, but with social media tags or otherwise, just like being really engaged with them when you're having a show. It's like, oh, I've heard of that band, fucking love them. Have you heard of this band? Check them out. When you're engaging like that and giving people like a synergistic kind of interaction, where you're not only you're not talking about yourself all day, you're talking about other artists and things that you want to share too. Like, hey, check this out. Like with regards to that. And you're constantly supporting, it's only going to be better for you. You kind of get what you give. You're putting good out there on others that you should kind of realistically, you can expect that if that's your energy, if that's the lane that you stay in, just put good on everyone else's name and, fuck what everybody else says. Unless it's good about you, then it's, hey, thanks,
Yeah, and if it comes back around, cool. And if it don't, whatever, you're still doing your job at being a cool fucking dude. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So, Mod, do you want to ask your closing question, the one that you've always said you wanted to ask, and that's going to be your closing question, but you've never asked?
A lot of fuck off there.
I was just thinking about it as we were talking. You're like,
I'm
shit,
looking
I
at
should
it.
have asked him da.
I'm looking at it. I keep looking over at it. So the question I ask, and I want to try to ask more of every musician that comes on, is each of you, Dylan and Jared, please tell me a heavy recommendation, a band that you think is heavy that people need to listen to. Could be national or not, it don't matter. And then something to pump the brakes and unwind to, something to decompress to, something mellow for your audience. I know we're metal here, but let's be real, we're human, and we don't all always listen to metal. So whoever's got one off the top of their head first.
I'll let Jared go first.
Give me a recommendation. I want to headbang to something heavy right now.
It can be local or national.
Yeah, whatever you feel like you want to promote, or just say like that I rep this hard as fuck. Like
Lately, I've been revisiting like Mastodon.
okay, I love Mastodon. What era? What are we talking?
Well, I like the older Mastodon, but
Older,
I kind of slept on the new shit for a while.
Okay.
So that's what I'm going back through and listening to. The stuff that I haven't heard yet.
So you're listening to the newer stuff now?
Yeah.
Like newer
Hushed and
Mastodon?
Grim and
Okay.
Which is still
Emperor
pretty
of
fucking
Sand
good,
or
yeah.
whatever it's
Yeah.
called, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
come into the picture with I think March of the Fire Ants. Was it
Yeah.
Leviathan? Maybe? Or before that even. I'm not 100%
I
on
was
the
gonna say, that's
catalog.
pretty early.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
old. But then I really grow with them until you get to like Crack the
Yeah.
Sky. Like
Oh,
I
Crack the
fucking-
Sky. That's
yeah, I mean,
probably.
epic, right?
I love the song "The Sparrow." Is probably my all-time favorite of theirs.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
they're a great band.
Yes.
Front to back. So good recommendation. Now,
But
what,
like what you were saying, the
No.
winding down shit. I listen to stuff like, not as much anymore, but like Pink Floyd.
okay.
I love a lot of Pink Floyd.
Classic.
Yeah, love it.
Elton John, man, I don't
yeah.
give a shit.
Yeah.
He's good.
Yep.
He's
So
good.
that's and then the reason I ask these questions is to give people context that we go out and we play heavy music,
Mhm.
but we just don't sit here and like obsess over it
Right.
and listen to it only exclusively heavy blast beats and all this shit.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, we're people. We listen to other music too,
Yeah.
and we chill out. We got some chill. We got some heavy mellow that we like. So
Yeah.
I like to highlight that to people. That's where and it shows some of your influences too musically. So thank you for that, Jared.
Yeah.
What about you, Dylan?
All right. So I'm a huge Job 4 Cowboy fan.
I was gonna
So-
say Job.
very
and with the
nice.
new Job 4 Cowboy coming out,
Mhm.
yeah, check that out for sure if you want something heavy, technical, but also a little bit melodic. They got cool solos, cool
I-
leads, cool riffs.
I did just hear. Did they like just put something new out, or
Yeah,
they're
A
about
song, right? A
They-
song.
they
One
had-
song.
They have a song, and then
Yeah.
today or yesterday, Metal Blades just hinted that they're about to drop another one.
to? Okay, so this new song, if we listen to the same song, because I'm not as well versed in Job for a Cowboy. Correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of fascinating bass work on this song. Would you
Yes.
agree?
Yeah, I think
So
it's
we
Last
fretless.
few albums.
Okay,
fretless
okay.
bass, yeah.
So yeah, I could really discern bass in that, and I was like, holy fucking shit, this guy.
Sounds amazing.
I love it when the band has a real bassist. And not to say that anybody following rhythms isn't a real bassist. You know, you deserve to be in the band and rock the fuck out too, and you're heard. But when you got a guy that's just like a lead guitarist on bass, I'm like my ears prick up. I'm looking at you like, show me something, bro. So what are you chilling out to, Dylan?
Oh man, this is gonna go back to my one of my favorite bands of all time, Tool.
Okay, okay. They
For
can
some
chill.
people, that might not be chill,
No, I mean,
but
no.
but for me, I love to just sit back and like relax, listen to some Tool, or if I'm going on a long drive, just kind of throw on a Tool album.
Okay.
That's kind of just like, I'm kind of into that. I'm not a huge prog rock guy, but I really love Tool.
There's
And
a sedative quality to their music. There's a
Yeah.
repetitive sedative quality to it, especially certain tracks.
Yeah, certain tracks, you can get hype on Tool, you can get philosophical on Tool,
Mhm,
you can
mhm.
get, kind of relaxed on Tool. And then, I mean, I'm not much of a very chill guy when it comes to music.
Sure.
So if I, I'll throw a curveball here and I'll say Tyler Childers. He's more country,
Okay.
folk country.
I love folk, especially with respect to country. Thank you for that recommendation. Well, I'm writing these things down. And then, so I will tie in one last question, Jay. I'll piggyback off of his Tool
Sure.
comment. I know we're wrapping up here. How do you feel about the new Tool album?
I like it. I would not put it as their worst, but it's not nowhere near their best.
Okay. Similar.
I'd give it a 7 out of 10, maybe a 6.5 out of 10 if I had
Okay.
to rate it.
Okay.
My favorite are Lateralis and Enema.
Okay. I'm a 10,000 Days man myself, but I also love the previous two to that, Lateralis and Anima.
Yeah, I think I'd say 10,000 Days was the first Tool album I ever owned.
Okay.
So that has a special place in my heart, but I don't think it's their best in my personal opinion.
Okay.
I'd probably put it third,
Sure.
but it definitely holds a special place in my heart.
I could
so.
talk to it all day, but we'll call it
Yeah.
there.
No, that's fine. That's
I love
fine.
Tool.
Yeah, you could talk about them as long as their fucking songs are.
Hey, and I get that they're boring. So
No, I like Tool.
We'll be here
I'm
till
a
the
fan
end
of
of
Tool.
time.
I'm not. You got those guys that are just fucking diehard
Oh,
Tool
yeah.
fans.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, they're good. Like phenomenal musicians. Danny Carey's fucking one of the best drummers ever to have sticks. But
Yep.
I'm just like, it's Tool, man. They're okay. Like,
Yeah. We loved we loved the new album when it came out. We were really like into it, and then as time wears on, you're like, yeah, I'm still listening to it. I'm on the first listen right now,
Yeah.
bro. Are you done with yours?
Right.
I'm not done with mine yet.
Yeah.
The songs are too fucking long.
Yeah, that's
stop.
Yeah, it's almost too much sometimes. But
Stop.
with that being said, where can everybody find you guys?
Social media would be Nociception Band, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You can find us Nociception Band, and then same thing on YouTube. Just look up Nociception Band,
I'll follow you guys on that.
and Spotify. Just type in Nociception. And I think we're the only like legit Nociception band on Spotify. Because you know how there's sometimes there's other
Yeah.
artists with similar names or
Yep.
the same name. But yeah, you could find us. Our music is on all major streaming platforms,
Mhm.
as far as I know, and we will have a new single out November 10th, as well as a new EP out November 24th.
Okay, with that
Awesome.
being said, this podcast will come out the day before that. This
Perfect.
full podcast. It's going to be a special one because the 24th is a Friday.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
a
so the
Friday. Yep.
23rd. Usually our episodes come out on Tuesdays, but this one I wanted to squeeze in and I'll have it done because sometimes our episodes don't come out for a little bit because just the way we stack them, and so we might film one and it might not come out for 2 months, But
Yep.
with things like this, with pressing albums and timelines, I'm trying to get a little better, getting into workflow. So this will come out before then, but I'll have some clips and stuff for you guys, whatever. So I just want to say, Jared, Dylan, Nociception, thanks so much for coming on the Metal Maniacs
you, man.
podcast, man.
Thanks for having us.
Really appreciate it. It was a fun conversation. We'll definitely have you guys back again. And
Hell yeah.
hopefully we'll play some shows together too and fucking hang out.
Oh,
so.
That for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, cool
Like
meeting
I
both
said,
you guys.
anybody, hit us up for shows, whatever. We're down to play with pretty much anyone.
Hell yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
Fuck yeah. All right, keep it metal, motherfuckers.
Yeah.